Michelle, how are you doing? What do you want to challenge us with then? Come on then.
That's a good question, and I've been trying to think about it. You're a pretty smart bunch. I was just going to see. I was going to see how you felt your participation in the Twitterverse has positively or negatively impacted international relations in global AV. How does that sound?
That's a big start. Go. You can have that, Jace.
That's getting right in, down and dirty at that point, isn't it?
Roll your sleeves up. Come on, guys.
What I can't wait is for Kev to come back from Infocom and experience almost double the positive experience I had last year. Where he's going to rock up at places and people he doesn't know are going to come up and say, "Hey, Kev, how you doing?" and all this other stuff. And since then, we've started AV Jam and that. So, Kev's ego is going to totally, and Noel's are totally going to rock the minor celebrity status he's got, especially with him being one of the 9 as well.
What was the minor bit all about?
Oh, he was referring to your talent, the minor bit.
That is true.
and your ability to drink.
No, that is minor. Because I just can't. I'm an absolute part-timer when it comes to that.
I think 2 years ago we joined PSNI and we really had no international presence. And PSNI sort of moved it into the first or second gear, if you like, where we had to interact with some of our international colleagues. Attended Infocom and ISE more often, took it on another level. Chris and Mark asked to be on AV SmackDown, and that found another gear. And then the 3 of us had a chat and said, let's have a go at this. And we found another gear after that.
Yeah, I think for me it was very, 2 things. When I actually started using my Twitter account, because I really didn't understand it, I think one of my first posts about it was on Facebook, and I said, I Twittered today, because I didn't even have the proper vernacular. I didn't know what I was doing. That was like 9-10 years ago. But yeah, participating in Twitter with AV people definitely fostered a lot of affinity and gave more of a sense of community. And then going to ISE just was mind-blowing. And was a lot of fun, and it allowed me to meet a bunch of people that were domestic, but in other parts of my own country even. So that was pretty cool.
We came looking for you and we couldn't find you at ISE. We were gutted.
Yeah, we were.
Well, that's Jason. You're no Asher. That's all I got to say. Somehow Steve Ashby found it.
Don't keep his head's getting this big now. Stop it.
Don't give him that. Yeah, don't give him that.
I'll tell you what, if Steve's watching that now, he's going to dine out on that for the rest of the year.
So I see a Christopher Smith. A Christopher Smith has joined us, and that is my younger brother's name. So I love that. Great name, Christopher Smith.
Good, strong name. Hi, everyone. How you doing?
One of his emails is the real Chris Smith, because that's such a common name.
Oh, you think that's common? My dad's called John Smith.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the common name of them all.
Yeah, right after John Doe.
Exactly.
Come on then, Smithy, while you're here, and I'm really worried about this one.
Oh, right. Yeah, the questions. Okay, yeah. So I was wondering, hence why I said if you had like a pen and paper near you. Right, so how much money would you need to mention collaborative huddle spaces in every single conversation you have for the next year? So for next year, every conversation you have with someone, you have to drop that phrase in, and it can't just be randomly done. You have to somehow turn that conversation into it making sense for you to say about collaborative huddle spaces.
Well, I don't think they can answer that. They don't know how to answer because we haven't decided there might be a Halloween Brexit. So do we quote that in pounds? Do we quote that in euros? It's very confusing.
And we've always been pounds. We didn't get euros.
That's okay. We were logical enough to know that we were going to ruin ourselves at some point and just stayed.
Because what I wanted to do was whoever had the lowest value will do a little bit of role play to see how easy it would be for you to get it into certain situations.
I was going to go with something like 1.5 million.
Okay.
Well,
I'm going higher, so I don't have to do it. Let Noel do it.
2 million.
I'll go 5.
5, right. Okay. So Noel, if for instance I've just turned up to your wedding, for example, and I'm like, "Hi, Noel, congratulations! You know, how are you finding the day?"
Oh, absolutely gorgeous day, mate. Beautiful wife that I've just married. We first met in this brilliant collaborative huddle space. You should have seen it. Come round again.
I'll give you that. I reckon you could do it for a full year.
Come on then, Kaleo. What have you got for us, mate?
Oh, I actually had a bunch of questions in my head at the time before I went to bed. Now I can't remember any of it. It's too early right now. I was off the top of my head, actually. I'm a little curious. So now that you're part of PS9 Global Network and whatnot in our conversations, are you seeing technology? Is there a lag for you guys in implementation behind the US or vice versa? Like I know in Hawaii, technology can come out and say like Infocom, but I won't see it really implemented till 2 years later in Hawaii. So I was wondering if you guys experience the same thing, or maybe your guys are ahead of it across the pond.
We're not ahead. We're planning a future AV jam on eSports, and we're still wondering what the hell it is. And you guys seem to have a complete grasp on all of that and everything.
We have leagues. It's just like soccer. Even in Houston, we have the Houston Outlaws. We actually have an eSports team, and they are building an eSports arena, which I think is mind-blowing. Kids like to watch each other in large arenas. Yeah, totally cool. They're making it a co-working space / eSports arena, which I was like, well, that's a good use of the real estate. It's pretty smart.
Yeah, we're miles
What about other
away.
technologies?
Funnily enough, we had one of our earlier jams actually was AV over IP, and that was another one that we asked that exact question because at the time I didn't know people in the States did AV. I knew nothing about this whole Twitterverse social media. I was just in the middle of nowhere, and that was my exact question. But you guys, that side of the pond, seem to get the big stuff a lot quicker. You do the stadiums, you do the focal pieces a lot quicker. However, what they're telling us is when it comes to just your normal everyday integration with them, yeah, we're thereabouts, which shocked me. I never expected that. I always thought we were miles behind.
Oh, I would just, you know who's ahead? It's your cousins down under in Australia, in New Zealand. They were very early adopters in the higher ed space of AV over IP. And I don't know if I should give AVT credit for that or whomever, but yeah, the Aussies and the Kiwis, they were 100% in, and that left me thinking, well, what's wrong with us? Like, they've already adopted it. You know, this huge continent that has less people than Texas, what's going on around here? You know, maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
No,
Everywhere has less people than Texas, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think what I've seen, like in terms of Europe, is that the Scandinavians are doing things really well. They're always the guys that seem to be doing things in this big space, big numbers, big data, big everything. But
yeah,
kind of localized to Scandinavia. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see that too. Well, and but look at the
to
Norwegians are big in technology. Cisco, Tamberg, you know, the legacy. Sorry, Jason.
I've just seen some comments from Lord and Dr. Joe Way. Are you there, my friend?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey.
I thought I was
There he is.
What podcast in the same time?
Cut the t-shirt. Get off.
I'm not
We're
sure
coming in
you
strong.
can't show that big. Come on, Joe. See, I thought I was good being a lord, and then Joe throws a PhD in there. What's this?
You know, you got to use it while you got it, right? It won't look as good on my tombstone, so I'll just go with it now.
Jay, you just put a good comment in about an eSports arena in some university in California.
Yeah, right here in Orange County, UCI just built an entire arena that you would think that you'd throw volleyball or something else in there, and it's all eSports. They're giving away scholarships. I mean, the thing is just beautiful. And, with actual stadium seating for people to come and watch. I mean, I don't understand why the kids these days like watching other people play video games, but it's huge. And as these leagues, one other school in Florida is going in huge. And I want to say it's UCF, but I could be totally wrong. Doing the same thing, huge arena just for esports. And if you want to talk about, like, if integrators want to get into something that's going to make major money, it's esports arenas. Because I can tell you, even as end users, we like to do a lot of our classrooms ourselves. We cannot do that on our own. I mean, we're talking, circling the round LED, huge LED walls everywhere, the interconnectivity of it all. And then they want the students in the seats to be able to chat and connect. There's so much AV behind those, it's not even funny. So that is, when you said that's what you want to get into, there's huge dollars for the commercial integration industry because it's only getting bigger. And some people, like I said, like UCI, who went huge, if you look at all the major schools, when they want to get in, they're going to have to compete in that same way. And I can't imagine what the price tag on that room is.
So come on then, Joe. Apart from AV as a service must die, what have you got for us today, my friend?
Oh, we're jumping right. Okay, well, I have a two-part question for you. All right. So the first one, I'll get the important one out of the way. By how many goals will Villa beat West Brom tomorrow and Tuesday?
Nil.
Okay, the one thing we've learned this week with football is don't count on the first leg, right? When you look at Liverpool and Tottenham. But we're going to win 4-0.
No,
that's it.
not.
I like that score.
I'll take that bet. I'll take it.
4-0. We'll take 4-0. All right. Okay. Actually, now here's my other serious question for you. And this is assuming I can't kill AV as a service. All right. Or maybe it does. Maybe it makes it a way I'll buy it. As we start to move away from being a black box industry, how do you see new solutions, like software-defined solutions, impacting not just what you're selling, but also how you're hiring and how you're molding your teams, right? Because are you bringing in IT people? I mean, I think right now a lot of us, the IT experience we have is emailing the IT group and saying, hey, what IP address can I use? But are we bringing in teams who can, help with the configuration of the software that's going to be used to be able to really have high-end conversations with end-user IT teams, those types of things. So how do you see that impacting, both sales and personal side, the personal relationship side, but also your actual internal teams? No.
Obviously, you've taken their breath away.
I honestly see. I honestly do not know in that respect. No, I don't. Although saying that, I never know. I just design things. This is Jace's stuff. And he's looking just as perplexed as me.
I'm still wondering who's going to score the 4 goals tomorrow. The one thing, Michelle mentioned earlier about this sort of globalization of AV social and everything as introduced to me is listening to more podcasts than ever. And everybody is talking about a software sort of defined world. I think I've listened to you this week saying it yourself, Joe. Black lights, grey boxes, black boxes with blinking lights on them. It's kind of going to become a thing of the past, but AV isn't, right? So it's what we do with the AV and the sectors we go into that matters, I suppose. It's a really good question. Noel, you're full of beer now. Have you got anything to say?
I'm definitely not full of beer yet, I tell you that. AV as a service for me, yeah. I think pretty much everybody in our Twitter mentioned the same sort of thing. There's this AV as a service. It's the next best thing. Brilliant. Everybody wants it, but nobody really does it yet.
We don't.
So we're well away from that stage. But in terms of how our people are understanding it, we have gone against vendors and the distribution channels several times to discuss the difference between this being a finance model and an actual sensible proposition. So for us, it's coming. Everything's becoming financeable, but we can add the value as people to what we're actually doing. So the service part of it comes to how we work with the technology, with the clients, and with the people that you see day in, day out to make sure that the technology that they're paying a subscription service for actually has some value to it other than just a subscription.
Yeah, totally agree.
What is the subscription paying for? No.
If you're going to have a subscription, then it's got to pay for the kit. It's got to pay for the service of that kit. Realistically, it should include anything to do with the account management type of roles that people do. So they go in, they give reports on the usage of the kit, how to change technology, how to bring benefit to it, including training, including support. So for me, it's a wrap of everything. That is the service proposition to a business as a salesperson that you should be able to take forward.
How does that though work with issues and faults? Are we saying that should also include somebody who's permanently based at that customer's site, or is there a defined turnaround that there's got to be someone there within an hour? Is an hour too long? Do you need somebody there at that moment in time all day, every day?
That's on premise then, right? That's on-site support.
Yeah, well, it's not going to change based on the user.
Potentially wrapped into that service model.
Well, see, and I look at it. Go ahead, Joe, because Joe's got some good thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, one, that depends upon the model of it. There might be, if you're talking, you did AV as a service or of a software, I can't even bring it out, and as a software sales thing, and you package it that way, and I totally agree. That is exactly how you add service to it. But if you're looking at it for a client that only has a couple of boardrooms and a few different places and around the country, you're not going to have on-site support. You go to a very, very large end user like me, and you're not going to have, on-site support because it just doesn't make sense. Because how many people would you have to take the 6 tickets that come in at a time at 1:15 in the afternoon when all the classes are changing? That's not going to be realistic either. But there is probably a sweet spot where that makes sense. Some training center maybe that that has 10 classrooms or 10 spaces and some, collaboration spaces or whatever. What's the word we're supposed to say for $1.5 million? The collaborative huddle spaces.
Collaborative huddle spaces. There you go.
There we go. That might be a model where it does. But again, here's the thing. I think that this starts to work because if you can give me the solution and know that my backbone is working, well, then the on-prem becomes easy. Like, it's easier for me to have a student worker go just watch the end users because we know, like in my use case, most of my tickets, 70% of my tickets is, they didn't plug the HDMI cable in. And no matter how much we're on the phone before we actually walk halfway across campus to check it, they will keep telling us the HDMI cable is plugged in until we walk in and plug in the HDMI cable for them, right? So there's no reason that we need on-site support for that. So as we move away from troubleshooting black boxes, moving away from connectivity issues, now I see a reason to have someone off-site monitoring for me, someone who can see things that I can't see. If the cloud is hosting my control systems, I would love someone who has something like in your office. Do you have me up on one screen in your office, just knowing that you're watching for something to turn red and then message me on my campus to say, hey, guys, you might want to go check this out. We're getting something. There might be an issue here. You know what I mean? There are other ways that you can offer service to me that are going to be in my advantage, which are just everybody's waste of time and money to help some, physics professor plug in an HDMI cable. Right. So there is somewhere there that there's value. But here's the real question. No, but here's the thing, though. But here's the next step, and what the other part of my question was. If you're going to install this stuff, and we're going to get to where our nodes become ingrained. Right now, still anything that's AV over IP, the cloud-based, it's still an encoder node, a decoder node. As they become more ingrained, and as these become things you can put on computers and on our networks, are integrators prepared to have conversations with IT people? Like, I wouldn't even know how to answer half the questions that my IT people would ask me once I start saying I want to install things on computers, or I need to have something else live elsewhere. I can't have those questions. So who are we bringing into our industry who can answer those questions and come in with an engineering team and talk to the IT people, knowing that, okay, this is living on level 4, this is living on level 1, this is where you're going to, this is where in your model this is going to fit, and the access we need, and here's the security you're going to get, because the door's going to shut as soon as the IT group goes, oh, you can't answer these questions? Okay, I have other things to do, right? And that's where,
100%. I think for me, that's the bit that kind of, for me, gets more exciting. It allows me to go back to old life and old world and start thinking more about IT again. The one thing I've noticed so much about AV, it's not that we don't know and we do it wrong. We're just a lot later to the party than the IT world. We need to learn from IT's mistakes and speed ourselves up to get to that knowledge and make sure that our products are ready for this, first of all. There's so many things all over social media and news articles at the minute about AV kit being the most unsecure thing ever. It's not that it was, okay, there are insecurities with it, but not that it is unsecure in a way that we're stupid. We're just so far behind. We've never needed to do so. We need to speed ourselves up quick, learn from IT, because they had the same issues when they started doing it. We just need to learn from their mistakes and get there quicker, and then skill ourselves up. The question is are we in a position to skill ourselves up enough to be having them conversations, bearing in mind so many people in this industry have lived AV for so long? Can you start again? Can you learn that again from scratch? Or are we all going out and hiring a load of IT guys and teaching them a bit of AV?
That's what you don't want to do. Adam's an end user. Adam Harvey's here as an end user. Surely that's what you don't want to do, right?
No. Sorry, I missed a little bit of the conversation. I was trying to tweet at the same time.
You don't want to hire an
IT
guy.
He's an end user, but he's not a multitasker.
Are you in a pub as well?
Absolutely not. Me? No, cafe.
Okay.
All right, sorry, but Noel does not look like he's in a pub. He looks like he's in my grandmother's kitchen. Okay, sorry.
It is like that. It is just like that. Yeah.
He is, and he thinks Grandma Way is the loveliest woman ever, and she was well worth the international flight.
That's a Yorkshire pub for you right there, right? I've been there. That's the pub we go to with you, yeah?
It is, yeah, because it serves good beer and it's got friendly banter in it, so it's nowhere better to be.
Well, I will say, okay, so Lord Dr. Joe Way has said to me before, in his environment, which is higher education, a lot of people come to him and they talk AV as a service, and they say, well, there's this price, because you can lease these rooms. And he says, well, that's not really our model. It's a CapEx versus OpEx experience. And so then they turn around and just change the nomenclature, even though the entire premise is the same. And they go, oh, well, then it's a subscription. And he's like, but it still doesn't work for my environment. So I don't necessarily believe that I think for some people, possibly small and medium-sized businesses, maybe that model of leasing your rooms does make complete, total sense, and it's a whole package, the whole kit and caboodle. The way I see AV as a service might be a little bit different than some people. I still think all of your equipment is going to be a CapEx cost. And in terms of the AV as a service, you're strictly leveraging IP, right? Leveraging the cloud so that you can solve the problem of lowering the service times in the meantime to repair the rooms when they're not working. That's how I look at it. And so the subscription part of what you're paying for is really for just-in-time monitoring. And so with that, because you are in a cloud, so clouds can be federated, right? They can be shared by multiple people that are given access. Lord Dr. Joe Way can have his guys, he can choose. He can have his guys look at the same exact thing that you're looking at, right, as the integration provider, the same dashboard. He can be notified automatically. This is all about automating things, right? His team can be notified at the same time as your team, or he can choose to have his team do other things, and you're the remote, because the reality is, I would say less than 5% of the time it's a hardware failure, probably close to 90%, 85, at least 85. The analytics in higher ed from the company that I work for now, it was about 81% user error. And I know that Lord Dr. Joe Way is not shocked by this at all. We suspect it's possibly higher, and then there's that valley in the middle where just something's wrong in the room. Maybe it's getting dirty power. Maybe there's some, rolling brownouts or something that's causing gear to go weird, but the gear has not gone bad. So to me, AV as a service is being able to remotely to be notified, identify, troubleshoot, and get the room operational in, sub 3 minutes without you getting your derriere out of your seat. So that's what I think it is to me. Thoughts? Anyone?
100%. Right on.
I think you just nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, from a maintenance point of view, absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, we kind of use an external AV company as our third tier of support, but they're not actively monitoring anything like that. It's just a full reporting thing. I don't know how far we'd go down that road at the moment. I don't think the value of it versus the cost that we're getting would be right at the moment for us.
Have you got some pricing, Adam, that scared you off? Did you get a rough order of magnitude on what something like that would cost?
We haven't really gone into that realm. So it's we kind of spend a lot more money up front. So our installations are very robust. They're very they're looked after. They're installed properly. We spend a lot of time up front making sure that product that goes into the room is the best it can possibly be. And that's where we tend to not have a huge amount of faults. And I guess as Joe will back me up, it is user error. And as like you said earlier, it's user error which is our biggest thing. So I think a lot of our investment should go into the training more than anything, because we've had a standardization in here in the university very, very tight for the last 3 years, which is backing up like 12 years of standardization. But we issue schematics now and just say build our design, and that's really paid off for us. So I'm not sure going into that whole AV as a service provision what that would give us extra at the moment.
Well, if you go with Michelle's model and you end up, why would at some point it's going to be better just to hire some guy on-prem from the company? And in that case, then you're going to have, at that point, if they have someone on staff, you're going to have someone like Lord Dr. Joe Way upset because now I'm adding somebody to his staff and it's actually in respect doing his, team's job. So, I mean, that's what I see from Michelle's model. But at the same time, Joe brought up a really good point about the software integration and loading it up, and are we prepared for that? And even the AV manufacturers, I had one of the big Tron companies. We were actually working towards that model, and we're hosting something on their cloud. We have an IT company we partnered with, so we're set with our side. But then theirs was, and the customer had a simple question: "What is, are you ISO 9000 compliant?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, we are." They're like, "Oh, can you send us some data sheets?" Nothing came by. It was quite dark. And we kept pinging them, and nothing. I'm like, dude, you guys are a $1 billion company saying that you got this. I need this. Like, this is big for us. And just nothing. So it never went forward, and it killed us. It was just, it was sickening. But yeah.
I want to try and just shift us away from Joe's pet topic of AV as a service. I will just wrap it up with Dan Lee on Twitter. He's saying it isn't a thing. It's the concept of building a bespoke service featuring the elements that are required by a specific client. This is why it's hard to talk about, even though it's been fairly pretty easy to talk about for 20 minutes, and because it's so client-specific. And that client-specific bit, I think Dan's got on the head there. It's a very horses for courses thing, as well as whatever. I don't disagree with what all of our friends have said here today, but I'm looking at a list here, and I'm aware that our legend, Mr. Neto's here, and I want to kind of bring him in. And see what Chris has got to say. You there,
but he only speaks in questions, so that could be kind of awkward.
You know that. I'm not going to sit here and try to talk about India's service with the Lord Doctor sitting there. That guy's going to shoot me down in 2 seconds. all you are make some great points, but man, Joe, there's times where you are not right about this. It works for you. It doesn't work for you. It works for others. Listen, there's pieces to the puzzle that are not even being discussed in the service part. There is the overall environment, right? You want to jam a service into a space that doesn't, like in a university. Are you going to offer, as a service, if you're a company offering AV as a service, is your 55-inch monitor on a wall going to be sufficient enough, because that's part of your package, for a 50-person conference room? No. There has to be adjustments. And like Jason said, and like Dan is saying online, you have to tailor it as it moves. But I think that the fundamentals will be in place. I think that the shift in something that we've talked about many a times online, I think the shift from the brand to the service is going to change that. What I mean by that is, you're not going to call out a brand-specific control system, brand-specific video conferencing system, brand-specific anything. You are now going to say, you're going to treat it like you do a rental car, in the sense that you're going to ask for a 4-door sedan. It could be a Jetta. It could be an Accord. It could be a Camry. If you're going to start thinking like a service, like an Uber mentality, we're sending you a 4-door car. That's what you asked for. Don't get into the minutia details. Does it have leather seats? You asked for a 4-door sedan. That's what you're getting. So if you want to bump up to that stuff, then you start adding some a la carte. So one of the things that gets lost in this conversation, like I said, like Dan is stating online, is the environment of which this place is going to go, the culture of the company. It all comes into play. You're not 100% wrong. You're a little wrong, but not 100%. Right? I'll give you the 5%. But that's in your university, right? And I understand that. And Joe's not the guy I'm going to be talking to at InfoComm. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to avoid him at InfoComm. Because we don't have the time, the place, nor a speaker system and microphone system loud enough in that joint to go back and forth on the benefits of having a service, right? But it's been said 100 times, man. There's going to be. You're saying that today in 2019. I'm going to come back in 365 days and go to Joe and say, has something changed? Because the way we're evolving as an industry, dude, there's no way AV as a service is going to stay out of your pond very much longer. You're eventually going to have to come to a point where you're saying, you know what, I'm going to eliminate these active learning spaces, and I'm going to create a template, essentially. And this is the service I want. I want the furniture. I want the monitors. I want the backup software, and I need some collaboration tools involved to it. You go to a designer. You go to Dan, right? You go to me in a former life, and I will put a list of stuff together, and we try to simplify it and deliver it as a service. But the key is, you shouldn't be telling me it has to be XYZ monitor. You know what? I'm going to find you a 55-inch monitor that's LED that does 4K. How does that sound? And if it breaks, it gets replaced. You shouldn't be hung up on that, because now you're not owning that. And I understand that because I'm a former tech manager. I had a specific size of monitor and brand of monitor, because if something broke on a digital signage, no disrespect to Kaleo, if a screen went bad, I would just go in the back, grab it, plug it in, easy peasy. There's no question. So I think that's the big shift for us is stop talking about the brands and start relating to products as the solution or what they do. Adding feature sets based on what we do as research, that's what makes us valuable, right? And there is an art to AV that I unfortunately think is dying. AV companies, pick one, from integrators, consultants, whatever, are going out and finding IT-specific people, the question you guys had earlier. That's awesome. They don't understand acoustics, lighting, any of that stuff, right? So it's a learning curve. So you bring in an IT guy who's great. So you have to train him. Who's going to train him? You're going to go to the veteran who's been in the business, who that young guy who has his degree in IT and this has no clue the effects of ambient light in a space, right? So what I've seen is this, and now that Michelle's on the manufacturer side, there is a push going back to the manufacturers to, you got to help me with the design or the engineering of this. Mm-hmm. Because you got guys on the other side of the business that are IT guys trying to speed up and learn AV, right? Because it's trendy to hire the CCNA right now, right? Mm-hmm. Super trendy. You go out, that dude, you here's your cash, let's go, start today. And then you realize that they don't understand that the conference room's in a glass wall and the effects of the audio in that space, or that the sun rises in.
It's trendy if it's trendy to hire a CCNA.
Is it trendy to have CCNA?
In the States, it's pretty trendy.
Look at Kev. He's got a trendy haircut. He's all slick looking. I mean, he's me of IT.
There's a reason why he's the guy.
I'm just hearing you all want to give me a job right now, is what I'm getting out of this.
Here's the thing. You're going to be going around doing this at Infocom because you're going to be the trendy guy. Just dollar bills flying out of your hands. Because why? Because IT is a big deal. So it's unfortunate. I just spit out about 100 different things at you. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? If the design chart goes down, it's probably not ours. That's the only correction I would make of that whole thing.
No, I had some big time head bumping when I was a tech manager with a certain manufacturer who, first of all, we'll give you a great deal on all these screens, and we went ahead and said yes, we're going to standardize on that brand, and then we installed it, and about a year later, our digital signage, the screen started failing, or there was massive burn-in. And I go back, I'm like, you guys gave us a great deal, I get it, but these things are falling apart on us right now. Well, they weren't intended to be on this amount of hours. I said, A, it's a commercial display. B, you sold me on how good it was. And now what? It's beyond warranty. Guess what? The player was still playing, Kaleo, so you're good. But now I have to go out and buy all new monitors, and I swore to that company I would never do business with them again.
Well, Chris is an AV professional.
It wasn't worth the aggravation.
I'd like to add that we don't call it burn-in. We call it image retention. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
I was going to say ghosting. I was going to say ghosting, burn-in, whatever you want to call it. I'm showing my age. It's all right.
Anyway. I want to comment, if I'm still undone, I want to comment on what Chris said, because now I feel I have a duty to track him down at Infocom and just follow him around with a microphone. But you know what, Chris? You actually might have just given me away. You might have given me away. I like this because I like the way you said it, where right now I am so focused on combining my manufacturers and being very manufacturer specific, because I have to rely so much on what their service is going to be like when something goes down. But you're right, when you put it in the Uber model of, hey, I just want a display that's going to work, and the company can guarantee me that in 24 hours we'll have a new display up for you, no matter what it is, and it's going to work with the control system and I don't have to worry about it. That's a great way of looking at it. That's not being done now. And there's another thing that I'd had a conversation, with someone in the office when I was trying to explain how this works. And like, look at this. The way I look at it, and you just put it in a great way, is my title is Director of Multimedia Services. It's not Director of Multimedia as a Service. right? We've always been a service industry. So why we're trying to pretend we're going to do something as a service? If AV was never done as a service, we've been doing the wrong things all along. And now I think what we're trying to do is let's change the way we talk about what that service model is. And I think I do like your point. I might concede.
Well, Joe, one of the first interviews I ever did that was in a magazine. It was for Sound and Communications. I have it up on the wall. And they asked me, so what do you do? I'm like, I service my customers. They're like, wait a minute, but you work for the pharmaceutical. You're internal, right? I said, yes, I am an employee of XYZ pharmaceutical company, but they're my customers. I came from the field to run an internal group that was servicing, 41 buildings and over 300 conference rooms, right? Various size conference rooms, couple cafeterias, meeting spaces, visible spaces, you name it. And Adam, yourself, anybody who's ever been on the managing side of campus knows how diverse that skill set is, that you have to have. And the writer was interviewing me. He's like, why do you refer to them as your customer? I said, because the minute I refer to them as my coworkers, my service level will drop.
Bingo.
It's just inherent to you. If you know Bob, if you know Steve or Mary or whoever it is, you'll get to them. They know you. Once I told the team, anybody, nobody's your buddy. Treat them like as if they are your customer. And you go in there, you do your trouble ticket, you service it, you finish it, you complete it. You know them, good, but take that mentality. And that service mentality is how we were handling a lot of the sites. So just a little different way of doing tech management. And then when I left that pharmaceutical to go to another, it was a little bit different because I wasn't the guy in charge. I was now just solely like third level support or designing the spaces, right? But as a consultant, I spent much days and pictures of me online, crawling underneath tables looking for where the conduits were, where the poke throughs were coming, where the conduit was going, right? So anyway, but
and there's a good point that the guys brought up about the valley between what an IT person knows and what an AV person knows. And I do have some legacy higher ed accounts that have always installed the software platform that I represent, like themselves. And they did the software side themselves, but the actual work was done by an integrator, and they wanted to jump off the cliff and just do everything themselves. And it was a fairly complicated space. And they asked me, oh, well, can y'all help us with that? And I was like, no, because that's not what we do. That's what an integrator does. Well, but we think we can do it. And they're very intelligent people. And I said, well, it's not that you can't do it, but I would strongly recommend for some of the bear traps that I see that you'll get into where that valley of knowledge is not there yet, that you get a consultant. I mean, that was, I said, you can't do it yourself, but you need somebody to do a site survey. You need them to design a system that's going to work, that's going to have the drawings, that's going to have a scope of work, possibly even pay them to do some construction administration so that they make sure you're on the right point. But I advise them not to do it for this space because it was fairly complicated.
Michelle,
and
it's not even a valley, right? We are essentially Frodo trying to get through the horde, trying to get through the horde of tradition to drop that golden ring. I mean, everybody is fighting against you to try to move it forward. You're not, you got to throw the thing into the fire, right? And in between there, you have classic AV, traditional AV, naysayer AV, all sitting there not wanting to say that this is where we're going to go. This is how we're going to advance, right? So I don't know if it's necessarily a valley, but you definitely got a Titanic-sized battle, to get to that point. And unfortunately, it's not happening overnight. We've been talking about this type of service and experiential, everything that has been a buzzworthy conversation over the past 5 years, we have not gotten to because of tradition and classic. And we've always done it this way and that mindset. And that has to change in order to get there. The other way of doing it is you say, screw it. I'm not going to battle that. I'm just going to go make a right, go around, hook a left, and get into the volcano from the back. There's ways around it. It's just that we have to get through it. But anyway, Gentlemen, I have to split, but before I go, I had promised Jason that I was going to talk about something very important at InfoComm. So one of the things that we're doing, which is obviously we're doing something a little different with the van and driving down and live streaming 10 hours. 10 hours of conversation. Take this and multiply it times 10. This is what essentially I'm going to be talking for 10 hours. It's going to suck for you guys. A lot of water, a lot of losses. I'm not going to have a voice when I get down to Orlando. But trust me on it that there is a plan. We have a plan. It may not be a good plan, but it is a plan to do this. Once I get to Orlando and we set up shop, what we're doing is something a little different. We're going to be introducing what we're referring to as Base Camp this year. And Base Camp is something that we're going to be hosting at our booth. And it is nothing AV related in the sense that we're not selling anything. We're selling you guys. And we're proud to have AV Jam be the first of the signees to come up and talk. And actually, we're going to be hosting a podcast station where we're going to be highlighting the up-and-comers or the newer podcasts that are being developed, some of the lesser-known ones. I have a schedule put together. I'm just announcing that AV Jam is the first on the marquee, and there's more to come. I am referring to that as a marquee because, yes, it's kind of like a pod fest that we're having, kind of like a music fest, and the tiger has to do with it. Kaleo, thank you for saying that I'm going to bring a tiger. If you would like to refer to Jason or Noel as a tiger, you're more than welcome. They can get some tiger feeding pajamas and podcasts from there doing that. But AV Jam is the first of the podcasts that I will announce. There's more coming. A lot of.
I haven't gotten my invitation for mostly AV podcasts, but I'll be looking for it. Sorry,
yes.
Shameless plug.
This is we're setting it up. We're specifically not going after the big names of the established podcasts that are out there that have been doing it for years. We're going to highlight the lesser known, the indie rock bands, if you will. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Who I announce, what we announce. There's going to be one big surprise one coming because you never expected them to actually get together and actually podcast. So I'm pretty excited about it. So the live view gear that we're taking on the RV goes into our booth. We're setting up all the gear. All these guys are doing is bringing in, and they may be going live. They may be recording. They may just be yelling at me. But you know what? We have a Macy's window set up. You can come and see these guys in action. You're more than welcome to come and throw confetti at them or whatever you want if they're not saying the things that you want to hear. But that's Base Camp is going to be part of the Starin marketing thing, and I invite you guys to have a good time. And like I said, it may be live broadcast from there. In that case, if not, it's going to be a recording. But that's all I had to say. I have to jump to another meeting, and hope you guys had a great day and enjoy. And we will definitely have a bubble machine. If all of a sudden in the middle of a video podcast, bubbles start to emanate from the side, that would be hysterical. You know what? You give me an idea. Maybe I'll bring a washing machine with the door open, put a bubble machine inside, and every time somebody flubs or drops a curse word, the bubbles will start flowing out.
Well, there's a chance I would drown on bubbles. You know me.
Yeah, Chase stays there. We'll be all right.
Yeah, man. You know what? For me, a lot of this stuff, and talking to the guys at Starin when I came in, and they already had a lot of this thing going, kind of figured out. One of the things that we wanted to do is, we learned from the PSNI event. Sorry, Joe. I know that may be a mark on your, like a scar that you battle wound that you carry. But what I learned from the PSNI event is the better, the more you get out to people, share the information. InfoComm has terribly been a bad organization for doing live anything out of their show, and that's part of their thing. They want to keep it within, and that's their prerogative. I think the more you do live out is great. If they were to say broadcast out center stage, share that information. There's so many more people sitting home, and even in discussions that we've had before, where there's people that are willing to pay, a fee to attend. There are conferences right now that exist outside of AV that do that. You can have the on-site package, which does all these cool things, and you have this, online viewership where maybe you're not getting classes, but you're getting seminars, you're getting looks into new products, you're doing all this stuff. It's not an excuse not to go to a show, but it definitely will build excitement or hype to go to the show. That's my 2 cents. But it was a great idea with PSNI. Taking you guys as the first, group to come on and start sharing your views of what you're seeing and getting that out on a daily basis, and everybody else that's going to be announced, man, that's part of it. And no disrespect to the media that's currently doing that stuff now. They write it, but nothing's live. You guys are going to be on the show floor, in the middle of it, in the thick of it, no less. And, I'd like to think that our booth is pretty centered in a pretty cool place, in the sense that it's in the main corridor. There's going to be a lot of action. People will see you. So
what's your booth number? Where is your booth? Tell us. Can you share?
3871. We are next to Zoom and across from Logitech. Nice. So we're in the unified communication space.
Beautiful.
So, all right, guys.
Why do you need a number when there's a bubble machine, Michelle?
Look for the bubbles. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks,
but they're not helium bubbles.
Thanks, Chris. Listen, there's been. I want to balance this up with some AV Brits. Mark Tildesley of Tech Data has been really patient. I've watched a couple of people come and go. Mark, mate, I know I'm seeing you next week, but I'd like to see you this week and all. Yeah, we can hear you. Do you want to bring a little bit into this? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm sitting at home, mate. I'm not in a bar, sorry. No beers with me. I'm saving for next week, but I'll be here next week. So I got picked up on, actually, guys, talking about the AVIT. I mean, I'm in distribution, so I'm a further step away, really, from the end user yourselves. The only thing I'll say is that the AV will always be there. I think the AV absolutely will always be there, because you talked before, about the specialised rooms, about the ambient light, the ambient noise, etc., the real specialist solutions you've got, that will exist forever. I think what's overshadowing it, we don't talk AV or IT where I work now, it's technology. It's all about the technology, it's about how we bring that to market. AV and IT, it's a platform. The boxes themselves are just hardware. It's just they're bits of tin, be blunt about it. And it's about how the software that we use makes them work. The AV bit, absolutely very specialist, last row, but IT is going to be such big volumes, it's always taking the attention away, I think, from the AV world. That's why there's so much noise about IT, huddle space, etc. That's the big growth area. Look at the Microsoft, look at Zoom. Now, that's not AV, but that's where the big growth is now. That's driving the big growth.
Kev, go on. You're thinking something.
I am thinking something. I think I kind of get the whole big thing with IT, and I understand it. Christ, I've done it long enough. I still don't see how it could, and maybe this is wanting. I can't see how it can overshadow AV. I get AV could be a part of IT, almost a subset of IT, but we have our own specialization at that point. It's not, I get IT is big, but to me it's too, for want of a better word, it's too generic. IT to me is the same old generic.
If you're an end user, you're not using AV or IT. You're using a platform. You're using technology. Yeah. Now the AV IT, that's important to us. It's just let us. It's whatever we call it. VC. The explosion we'll see. We talk about collaboration, huddle space. It's being driven currently by Microsoft, by Zoom, by Cisco. These are IT companies. So technology. What AV does is brings it together. It allows the end user to use that technology. Yeah. I mean, Surface Hub coming around soon. That's not anybody said that's not an AV product. I know it's showcasing Infocom coming up, but it's not an AV product. It's an IT product. Yeah,
what product
it's a big
was that?
laptop.
I'm sorry. Okay.
The Surface Hub.
Surface Hub, cool.
Yeah,
it's a big laptop. It's a big overpriced laptop.
But it's a gateway. It's your Trojan horse. It's what you sell off the back of that. You talk about services. Yeah, the end user is excited by that big shiny box, and they are going to pay. They will pay a lot of money for that. They'll get it, and then they'll go, what the hell am I going to do with this? Okay? But that's when you add the services, you add the value. Okay? That's when that's your gateway in to add your value to that customer, because they will pay for that.
When I've been dealing with our IT teams, really, fundamentally, all they care about is how that data gets from one point to the other. And, they're really into that. And actually, to get it there completely clear, crisp, 100% is what they want to do. What's their expertise? So it's the finessing at each end is the bit where we're always going to be needed. Because, like you say, it's all about environment, it's acoustics, it's lighting. It has to be a usable thing at each end. Otherwise, it doesn't make any difference what's in the middle to connect it together. It's just, it's unimportant if you can't use it, like you were saying. Absolutely, yeah.
Here's, my example. As we start getting into what's the collaborative huddle spaces, I'll collect my commission now. As we do these more, here's something I'm running into on my campus. Because we are under IT, and our IT has been established there longer, we are, quote unquote, a Cisco campus. Well, to me, they're not serving my needs. Our IT people, they're all this and all that, and our conference rooms have to be Cisco this and that. And I don't want to bash Cisco, but let's say I want to be able to easily throw in a Zoom room or something in a research lab that will cost me, a few $100. I can throw those all over. A Cisco room is going to cost me $20,000 because we have to have a set thing codec we're using. And so are you guys facing any of those challenges as we move into our new way of doing AV and making every space an AV space? Because I don't even know how I could, I've tried starting this conversation with our IT group to say, maybe we need to look into other solutions that can either work alongside with or instead of, so that we can bring these collaborative huddle spaces, that's an extra royalty, please, into more locations. And I just shut down, completely shut down when I start to do that. And so that I just stop. But now I have wonderful products. I'm being sent all day long. Hey, look at this, look at this. Have you thought about doing a collaborative space here? Look, there's so many people that are doing great things at great price. I'm never going to be able to put in because of our own, our team we are, CCNA. This is how we do it. We know our ecosystem. And you want to talk about getting somebody out of an ecosystem, try to getting an IT group out of their ecosystem, and we're going to have to fight that battle. Have people faced that at all or had luck with that? Or?
I think some. There has been some that has always been, as you said, I'm a Cisco out. I'll never get sacked if I buy Cisco, as the old phrase kind of was. But for a long time, and I get there's still IT companies plugging it, a lot of them have never always seen even video conferencing, collaboration, that subset, not always seen that as part of IT. So I've got enough. We've dealt with so many different customers who, have a Cisco network, kind of don't care what their collaboration is. It's a completely different thing. It could be Zoom or Microsoft. It could just be a couple of Polycom endpoints doing nothing but 323 calling across the network. So I've not seen, and I've still not seen a bigger push that said now that people are feeling that maybe it is the whole IT realm that they've got to match up.
I think it's a chapter.
To me, it's good. Sorry.
So I was going to say, I think we talked about the growth. VC is still very immature. It's a very new technology to us. Been around for a while. It's old, but it's not mass market still. What will change grow VC actually will be driven by IT. It'll be driven by things like Microsoft Teams, where the VC just becomes a subsection. Mobile phone market exploded when Apple bought obviously the iPhone, and it was an app story. Yeah. And actually the phone just become another app. It was just part of the story. Microsoft Teams, and I would keep going about Microsoft, but the Microsoft Hub and the Teams, the Hub is just a device within that. The AV is just a device within the team story. That, like someone said earlier on, it's just the end point. Behind the end point's magic. VC will be driven by when the VC device is just another part of the story. It's not a specialist part of it. Yeah. Now the delivery of it, obviously, That may well be specialist, and that'll get better and better. But the mass market driver, where the end user demands it, will be driven by the app store, will be driven by Microsoft Teams, for example, by the platform, whereas it'll be Microsoft, Cisco, and they will, go back to the point, Radio, they will talk cross-platform. That's happening more and more and more. We know that's happening more and more.
I think the utopia of it is right, and it will be driven. The platform will drive. The platform is driving. Look at endpoints now. You used to be able to go out and buy any endpoint from any manufacturer and rock on, off you went. It's different now. You've got to think about the platform before you think about the endpoint. That is a guaranteed right now. And you're right. The interop is going to get there. We are going to end up to as easy as I always keep saying, as easy as making a phone call. Jace is quite right as he always throws it back and says that's kind of lowest common denominator, and it may not be the greatest thing, but in a kind of overview.
Yeah, but that's a shit experience. There, I did swear. That's a shit experience. Your mobile phone's crap.
No, but Jason, sorry. On that point, it's crap to a serious point. Crap to you as a sort of an expert user, but it's good enough. Yeah, and the mass market is driven by good enough.
Where's Chris?
Where's Chris? Chris Neto has just left the building on that.
It's good enough. It's good enough for the market.
We have just done an hour and 2 minutes of not good enough, and it gets dropped right now.
The end user says that's good enough. Yeah.
I think as a phone, it's crap. As a little computer, it's pretty good. You know, it keeps me connected to the world everywhere I go. In the early days, I'm an old git. I've been going to ISE for years and years and years. In the early days of ISE, I'd always travel with my laptop and this and this and this. I'm going to ISE with just this now. That's it. Because
how many phone calls do you actually make?
About 5, and then to my wife
with the kid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's good enough for now, but we always want more. That's why every time one comes out, the new iPhone comes out, the line is around the block, right? Yeah. So good enough is only qualitative to what you can get your hands on at the moment. But we haven't really found the solutions we want.
No.
Well, right?
No, I agree. And I think, yes, there is going to be a driver. Everyone wants it. I still can't see the light at the end of the tunnel as to when we're going to get what we want. Yes, our wants change constantly. But at the minute especially with UC, it feels like every want that we have, we almost never get before it moves on to the next anyway. That's my concern.
Does this link back to, then, without throwing a spanner in the works, as a service? Because obviously, this you then have the three-year renewal cycles as well. So good enough, as you say, constantly changing. What's the best today is not the best in 3 years' time. And it gives you ability then to renew that. The customer pays a fixed fee, per month. You include all your service, everything in it, and you include hardware upgrades in that. That's doable. That's doable today. We can offer that as a supplier. We can offer that to you today. Okay, that exists. So that brings again makes it as a service more reliable. They do it in the IT world, or would they? That's there.
We don't want to end up fight.
Big boardrooms, big lecture theatres. Absolutely understand that's not going to happen. But for the average meeting space, the average meeting room, for home office.
There is potential, and again, I think it goes back with the AV as a service. It's different for every customer. It's got to be bespoke every time. There's enough customers out there that I suppose have been burnt that they wouldn't want to rip and replace, even at 3 years, with fear that every 3 years they go through 2 years of pain to get that back up, and then they have a year's worth of good service.
I know, but the platform.
I do think that the capability is there to do so.
The platform doesn't change. In that 3 years, the hardware gets upgraded because the hardware's got, like your iPhone, you go from an iPhone 5 to 7 to 10. The hardware changes. Actually, the platform just evolves. The software evolves within that hardware. And that's the way that we go as well. That allows you to get a service.
Should we, that's brilliant. Should we, it's an hour. We survived an hour and we didn't have to do Kev's camera trick. We'll have to dedicate a whole AV jam to Kev's camera trick now. We actually had a camera trick up our sleeve if we didn't have any mates. So we're going to
do it anyway. Do
you want to see it?
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see it.
A little secret view.
Bear in mind, I've still got the sun. So my new office is the conservatory, and I get light coming through the roof and cameras doesn't always play ball. But I have got 4 webcams on top of my screen to try and get a decent picture at any one time. And at the minute, I cannot. If someone said to me, what's the best webcam out there? At the minute, I'm going to tell you none. So I'm not going to tell you who I've got. I've done nothing to... Actually, the one that you're seeing at the minute...
You've got to say who it is, right? You've got to say who it is.
Hang on then. I'm going to have to take it back to default, because this one I can manipulate the camera. But why should I have to do it? Okay, so this is back to what it thinks right now is the best picture. This is a Logitech C930. So I'm going to very quickly flick. I might give you the best one, which isn't the best, it's the funniest. Okay, I'm going to switch to the Eagle Eye Mini. It'll take you a while to find me.
Boom. Get speaking, Kev.
Now I can't manipulate this camera at all. Some obviously soft clients allow you to play with the camera, but why should I have to do that? And then I've got, bearing in mind some of these are some expensive webcams, Logitech Brio. Oh, I'm playing a little bit better than before, only a little bit. The one thing I don't like with this is I know I'm ginger. This is like, obviously, I look like a tango man at the time. As the sun goes, it gets a little bit better, but seriously, some of them are just absolutely crazy. I even got a Microsoft Live Cam just to play and see what that does. This one does try and fix itself as it goes, but it just gets darker and darker as I'm on the go. So yeah, I've got 4 cameras and I can't tell you what it is. And if we had no mates, I'd have just been sitting ranting about webcam. Probably the best one.
Yeah, do it.
The best one, if I can find it, instead of spending, £100 on a webcam or 100 and whatever pound on a webcam as some of them are, and they're all these flagship and they have all this software in that does it great. The best one is the cheap one that's built into my laptop. I didn't even pay any money extra for that. Stupid things. So, yes, that was going to be my rant.
You've got a lot of spare time on your hands, haven't you?
You guys
You know
saved
it.
yourselves from watching me moan about cameras.
The point there, though, just to finish off, though, is for years, talking of VC, if you're using VC on your desktop, don't try and do it with the inbuilt microphone, speakers and camera. With AV Jam number 1, Noel was using his internal microphone and speakers, and they were as good as my Voxbox thing here. The internal camera on yours, it beats all these ones that cost a couple of £100.
Yeah, and that is the madness of it. And I get, obviously, from when we started doing desktop video, 6, 7 years ago? Technology has changed. Laptops have got better. Kit has got better. Software's got better. If you remember, video software on your desktop had no way of doing any form of AEC. So what come out went straight back in. So the tech has changed and the tech has out that.
Would that be the IT based cameras better than those specialist? Is that the good enough?
You can't
start asking for a friend.
AV's better. I've just proven that maybe that's not the case, but AV's better.
Good enough. So good. Didn't say good enough. Just good enough. 20 years maybe, guys.
Thanks for your time, everyone. Lord, Dr. Joe Way, Adam, Mark, Kaleo. 6:30 in the morning. I tell you what, Joe, are you on the same time zone as Kaleo?
Yeah. Yep. He and we're pulling in.
Nice.
Seriously, I didn't even know there was 2 6 o'clocks in the same day.
There isn't.
There's the one where you start drinking and the one where you end drinking. That one. Yeah.
That's the one. This is how much we love you that we'll get up for this.
Brilliant.
Well,
definitely appreciate it.
Thanks for having. Thanks for hosting. This was awesome.
Cheers, guys.
It was a
Thank you,
blast.
guys.
Yeah. So.